I thought I would keep it light because I wasn't sure how awake everyone was going to be after Universal, and I'm sure you guys were out late, at least late for me is past like 9:30. So there's no magic bullet to remodels. I think what's going to be fun about this year is we're trying to build new stores and we can't get any stuff. So how are we going to build or do remodels rather and get some items? So we're going to talk a little bit about that. The reason I came up with this title is I think the last few years, everything we've been going through is you start to climb the ladder and get to the top of the board or complete the project rather, and then all of a sudden you're standing at a chute and you can't find a widget and you just lost 10 weeks on your project schedule. So between construction material shortages, equipment delays, logistics, labor, you get one plumber per market. Permitting is another one of my personal favorites. You have everyone going online for the first time versus being able to walk in and create that relationship with the reviewer and the inspectors. And then you upload something and they don't know how to work the program because they just released it a couple weeks ago. So your drawings are now lost and you've just gone down the chute. So it's been the joy of the pandemic, not that anything any of us were doing prior to was easy. I think it's just made it a little more chaotic at this point. Fun facts about me: born and raised in Chicago, Blackhawks and Cubs fan, so I'm used to setbacks. Worked at, I'm currently with Papa John's, was with Bloomin' Brands, ran my own business, worked at Kohl's, Cousin Subs, and of course Olive Garden is where I got my start, which I'm very grateful. So what we're going to talk about today is scopes and leveling the team players. It's a passion of mine. I think you got to surround yourself with the right people to be able to execute, especially in all of the chaos that we go through. Loading the wagon, again, very important if you can load it, and timelines, and then look back and learn. Creating the scope. So on remodels, I think you want to look at your lease term, your renewals. What's the landlord supposed to be doing that maybe he hasn't done? Unless, of course, you're the owner, then it's on you. And then what's depreciated? What are you going to throw away that hasn't completely depreciated yet? Finance gets a little upset when you throw stuff away and you just bought it 2 years ago. I don't know why. Project location. Obviously, building something in Florida, Georgia is going to be a little more potentially cost effective, present circumstances excluded, than, say, New York or California. And you need to be aware of that and be able to educate that to the executive leadership team, because I think there's some assumptions there and they're relying on you to have that education and be able to communicate that to them. Permit difficulty, we touched about that a little bit. I think it's just a joy right now. I always budget my scopes into 3 buckets. What's visible to the guest? What can help the team members in their efficiency, especially now with all the labor challenges, and then what's going to be repair and maintenance. Because depending on how the company's finances work, the cost of the remodel could be potentially separated into what's truly remodel and what's truly R&M, because that, again, is going to hit the books differently in the end. So a high scope that we're doing right now, which, oh, by the way, Papa John's has never remodeled in the history of the brand, so set the table for that. So there'll be some fun, exciting adventures there. On the high scope is going to be a complete interior and exterior remodel. The medium scope, we're going to focus on probably signage on the exterior because we are heavily in inline and end cap spaces. We have very little freestanding. And then your guest-facing items. Your low scope would just be signage replacement and any touches on the exterior that you can do. Building the team. So being a hockey person, this quote from Herb Brooks is one of my favorite. I'm not looking for the best players, I'm looking for the right ones. None of us in this room, with all due respect, has enough talent to do everything that we do on a day-to-day basis without any internal and external partners. None of us are good at everything. So this is one of my favorite quotes, because the teams that I like to build are eclectic. If you're eclectic, you hopefully alleviate the egos, you can collaborate with each other and have mutual respect for each other, and most importantly, hold each other accountable. The cast of characters that we deal with is interesting enough, from supply chain to the GC, to the architect, to the engineer. So I think you gotta have that level of respect for one another. It's very important, because otherwise you're gonna kill each other at the end of the day. Loading the wagon. We're all trying to get construction materials, equipment. We talked about it yesterday in one of the breakout sessions. HVAC, roofing materials. It's a scramble, and we're all trying to do the same thing, whether it's new construction or remodels. And now for remodels, the other problem that you have is that the GCs have their pick of work. So at Olive Garden or even at Outback and now at Papa John's, I can't close a restaurant when we've just been fighting for sales for the last 2.5 years. And I got no GCs that are going to take night work when they have their pick of the litter on day work. So it's about to get real interesting. So in order to alleviate the downtime, which is inevitable, is load the wagon and make sure you guys have everything. Make sure you know that you're going to need new HVAC, that all the pieces of equipment, all your FF&E is in a warehouse and a storage unit. We're working with the warehouse company to help manage that inventory, help us manage our purchase orders. And then that way, once we have that wagon loaded, we can start and the guys can hit the ground running. Now, keep in mind, remodels are Pandora's box. There's always going to be something they're going to come across that you didn't think of or you didn't plan for. That's what makes it fun, is what I'm told. So you can load the wagon as much as possible, but it may not alleviate everything, which leads to timelines. Operation wants their building back. We have to work with our friends, the inspectors. Communication across the board, communication, over communication. We are the experts. The other people that we interact with may not have to answer to the CEO, the CFO, the head of ops. You are the expert. You need to be able to communicate expectations. Never assume that they know that you're going to hit that date because they're looking down the schedule. They see May 5th. They're planning for May 5th. So the team and I have meetings every Monday and Friday, and we're a heavy franchise organization. We go through every active project. It's a fun 2.5, 3 hours, but it's valid. We go with every vendor, every GC, every partner that's on there, and we talk about every project and where they're at. We do the same on new stores as well. I think job site reports from my construction project managers and my GCs are very important, but they can also be deceiving because you'll get the one picture of the perfect corner and then it's Sanford and Son disaster over here. So you need to make sure, I'm a big process person, so you set up a form and these are the pictures that you want. And again, right now I have 1,500 square foot buildings, so there should really be no reason that pictures are being left out, but you never know. The other thing, and I'm gonna date myself, is I hate email. I hate email. Pick up the phone and have a conversation. If I see as I sort through my subject matters on my email and there's 15 emails and it could have easily been solved by picking up a phone, like just pick up the phone. We all have it attached to us at every given time. I think it's just an old school thing, but I think it alleviates a lot of assumptions. Look back is very important, especially in a rollout program and a first time rollout program. What did we learn? What RFIs? What happened? I will walk, depending on how many GCs there are, we'll walk the building. We'll talk about what happened. How were the plans? What'd you go through? We'll have the architects, we'll have the engineers there, we'll have ops there, and we'll just do an autopsy. How did it go? And we'll do it market by market. And there's always something that comes out. And I always tell them, leave your feelings at the door. We need to be able to solve it and continue to push ourselves to get better. Because just because we put it on paper today, 3 months from now, as we all learned 2 years ago, everything could change. We're a heavy delivery and carry out. We got Uber Eats, we got DoorDash, we got guests coming in and out. We have a lot of different variety of traffic, and you need to be able to check yourself on a day-to-day basis. It's not one and done. And I think walking through that building and having everybody listen and experience what each other went through is the only way you're going to learn and continue to push yourselves to get better and have a clean running program. Cost is another one. As the GCs that I work with will tell you, I hate change orders, but it's inevitable right now with everything that's going on. At least have the conversation and let's talk about where we are, because most likely I'm going to have to go upstairs and explain a $10,000 change order and what happened. And I'd rather know about it before the bill hits my desk. If none of that works, I highly recommend all of this on a day-to-day, hour-to-hour basis, however you guys see fit. But these are just a few little techniques that I've heard from friends work. So that's all. And I talk fast. So are there any questions? No one's awake, so anyone has any questions?
I'll get you a microphone. Hang on.
So Peter from Popeyes here, definitely going to be undergoing a big remodel program myself, so highly relevant. Thank you for the content. I did have a question that in regards to the contingencies, I know, for example, in the handful that we've done so far, because we have some older buildings, updating them to ADA is that little hidden thing that can be as little as 15K to 50K, like in some cases. Do you factor that into the contingency, or is this kind of probably another line item that we'll have to account for?
I factored in the contingency if I know, to your point, how old the building is. So we have a company that we use for 3-dimensional surveys. But to your point, there's always going to be some surprises. So we'll plan for it. We as well have some very old buildings, and I will tell you, most of the time my contingency is probably going to be more in the 15% range for that reason, unless I get lucky and there's a 3 or 4-year-old building. You and I both know things have changed dramatically, and what was planned, what was actually built could be 2 different things, and sometimes a survey doesn't catch it.